Breaking news, Lefty Gunplay has been called out by one of the biggest Latino rappers in the game. And in addition to that, we have Lefty's album sales to report on, and it's not looking too good. And on top of that, we have reason to believe that Lefty has been telling lies to the media. All those stories coming right up. So first thing, guys, yes, we are getting into the breaking news story game on YouTube. I'm locked in the office all day, basically reporting on whatever's going on in the rap game, putting together scripts, and it's real fun. This is our first one, but we got a bunch more coming up today, so make sure you stay tuned in and let us know what you think of this kind of content. We already obviously have a very, very active Instagram division that is reporting on the news day to day, and we're thinking about how we can adapt that to YouTube as well. So first things first, that Mexican OT sat down for an interview with Johnny Dang, which, by the way, when I say that everyone has a podcast these days, this is pretty much what I'm talking about. Johnny Dang is not exactly how would you say this? A native English speaker. So he's not someone that I thought would be likely to start a podcast, but he is doing it. And he's got that Mexican OT's first interview of the year, according to them, except that Mexican OT did Bootleg Kev and something called the Fat Fish podcast last month as well. But hey, screw it. Anyway, in this interview, they asked Mexican OT about Lefty Gunplay, and he just said a lot without saying too much. Let's check it out.
Someone that's going to watch this interview, they're going to want me to ask this question. Is one thing I'd also seen is they had brought up the Lefty Gunplay thing. They said that y'all had actually talked cool things out. So how did that come about? Did y'all actually?
We've never talked anything out.
What do OT and Lefty have to talk about? Well, about 4 months ago on the No Jumper Show, we reacted to a clip of Lefty where he was upset that Mexican OT seemingly took subliminal shots at him on Instagram. Mexican OT took some shots at rappers who get loaded off drugs and start treating everyone around them poorly, which for sure is a thing that some, if not most, rappers end up doing at some point in their career. But it was unclear why Lefty took this shot so personally, when I'm sure even within Texas, Mexican OT can probably think of a bunch of people who match that description. Anyway, Lefty took to his story and wrote, "You're obviously speaking about me. Why? All of a sudden when our issues bend blew over. Insecurities is a mother effer, boy. I got motion. You're slow motion. Stop hating on me and congratulate me. Jealousy is a female trait," etc., etc. Well, anyway, as far as jealousy goes, Mexican OT's last few videos on YouTube have averaged around 1 million views each, while Lefty's latest music video has clocked in approximately 16,000 views in the last 4 days. The rivalry between OT and Lefty has been simmering in the background for quite some time now, seemingly starting due to an appearance on Back on Fig, where OT spoke about how he does not like surrounding himself with Lefty's crackhead energy. My words, not his. Roll the clip.
Shout out Lefty. That's my boy.
You know what I'm saying? What we gonna see a record with you and him or what, man?
I would just, I don't know, bro, but I don't really like being around that. Like, to me, it's like, cause like, I remember being like that just on drugs. So when I'm around it, it make me feel like, you know, like when I got off drugs and stopped acting like that, it made me like think like, damn, bitch, I don't ever want to do that again. Yeah. My people, yeah, in Texas, I'm gonna go back home and they gonna congratulate me like, man, hey, way to take care of him. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm doing some player ass shit. I ain't gotta do a song with that mother. I ain't gotta do a song with nobody.
So that's the root of the problem. Let's get back to this Johnny Dang interview.
I think Lefty Gunplay is a great representation of California. I think he's doing great, and I think he need to keep doing what he's doing. And if he's ever in Texas, he needs to go to Chamagacha. For real. Lefty Gunplay, baby. Y'all go follow and follow him right now.
You got to be able to read between the lines to decipher this clip, because when OT says that he thinks Lefty is a great representation of California, what he's really saying, I think, is that LA is such a fucked up place that Lefty actually represents it pretty well. I'm not saying that OT is an actual LA hater, but generally speaking, Texans like their state because they've got plenty of room to move around, plenty of freedom to be had. They like to sip scissorp and slow their music down. And then in comparison, you have Lefty Gunplay, who is literally out here smoking meth and acting like an absolute tweaker. And it should not be surprising that Mexican OT is kind of turned off by that behavior. Also, OT says that Lefty needs to go to Chama Coucha, which is a steakhouse in Houston. I did a little Google, but I couldn't really figure out what he's trying to say by saying that. Seems like a regular restaurant to me, but I'm assuming that there's some sort of sneaky message there. Maybe someone can fill me in the comments. OT then goes on to say that he is not scared of Lefty, and things honestly get kind of intense.
I'm not cop and plead. I'm far from it. And if you think I am, you can come stick your dick in it, bro. Real life. I'm nasty, I'm dirty, and I get ugly with you. So what I just said, I don't mean that in any way of that you would take it, because I know that you're going to be commenting saying that.
I believe OT when he says that he thinks California has a lot of negativity out here. The Texas rap scene is smaller in comparison and probably has a little bit more of a family vibe as opposed to LA, which has got to be one of the most divisive, conflict-fueled rap scenes in the country. But I really appreciate the way OT is making it clear that he is not worried about Lefty on any kind of street level. The words he chose to use there, saying that he's not pussy and that if he is, you can come stick your in it. I mean, he's not fully dissing Lefty, but he's definitely talking about him in a way that is geared towards provoking a response from Lefty. I don't think OT really cares if Lefty responds, but I think the coded message here is that OT is not scared to beef with him either, musically or in the streets. And honestly, if Lefty and OT were to both do tracks going at each other, I feel like that might actually really expedite the end of Lefty's career, because OT is a bit of a beast lyrically, and Lefty is honestly a horrible rapper who honestly looks lost on any beat that he gets onto.
I be running up bags in a back in a lamp car, in a Tams bar, in a Mac bar, running up a bag like a strap bar. I be robbing banks in the mother.
And he's really just getting by on his image and the shenanigans attached to his name. If we were forced to judge him against OT musically, I feel like that would be a pretty negative result for Lefty overall. Do I think that Lefty is going to respond to this? Honestly, no. I think Lefty knows that he can't compete with OT musically, and Lefty also knows that if they both drop songs going at each other, that OT is probably going to get like 10 times as many views, and it would just be embarrassing. Lefty beefs with everyone who says anything about him. So unless he claps back at OT over these comments, he's honestly going to look kind of cowardly. Watch this space, though, because if he does clap back at OT, I've personally got my fingers crossed that we might end up hearing a full-fledged diss track from OT going at Lefty, and that, my friends, would be some good-ass content. Anyway, Lefty's album. I'm not going to lie, I have not listened to it yet, but I'm going to attempt to estimate his album sales for you guys. First off, the album didn't chart, so we've got to do some calculations in order to get to the bottom of this. This is a screenshot of his streams on Spotify from the new album that I took last night. If you add up all of these, you get approximately 2.1 million. Here's the thing, though. The biggest song, Can't Get Right, has nearly 1 million views, but it's been out for almost 4 months. So we have to subtract most of those plays, plus a bunch of the other songs have been out for a little while, too. So I think it's fair to say that around 1 million of the plays weren't from this week. They were from beforehand. So that leaves us with about 1.1 million streams, which we then multiply by 2 to account for Apple Music, and then we divide by 1,500, giving us a grand total of approximately 1,400 to 1,500 album sales. Now, obviously, this is pretty horrible, but his last album we estimated to have between 500 and 800 album sales, and this is literally about twice that. So yeah, still pretty terrible, especially for someone who claims to be the biggest Hispanic rapper in the game, but also approximately double what he did on his last album. So at least it seems like things are going in the right direction for old Lefty. And I've said this before, and I just want to double down. I think Lefty bots his YouTube views. I can't prove it, but I mean, his most recent video has 16,000 views in 4 days, which is an extremely low number compared to most of his other videos, especially for someone who's been doing a ton of media over the last few weeks to promote his album. I honestly think most of his previous videos have tons of fake plays, and his team just forgot to buy them for this newest release. So it's pretty likely, in my opinion, that they also purchased streams on Spotify, which might explain the increase in sales over his last album. And before you go calling me a hater for this opinion, it's it's pretty common knowledge that a huge percentage of the industry buys fake plays in order to make themselves seem more successful than they are, and I highly doubt that Lefty would consider himself above doing so himself or having his team do so. Okay, and for our final chunk of Lefty Gunplay news, he recently made headlines when it was announced that he was removing Gunplay from his name, leaving him with just Lefty. So this was over a week ago, and here's the problem. As far as I could tell, he has not actually done anything to indicate any intention of changing his name. He's still Lefty Gunplay on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube, including on his most recent music video, which was released after he announced the name change. Lefty has a real knack for making headlines by just sort of saying whatever, but it would appear that at least in this case, he really was just talking out of his ass, at least for the time being. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, smash a like, become a member for just $5 a month, and stay tuned for more content right here on the channel. Peace.